Jay, it is always a pleasure and honor seeing you. I was so happy that I got a chance to see you at the Black History Brunch. Um, it was so nice to see you there, and they put on such a great event that you performed at. What was it like being there and seeing all those people there, and of course having Spider Jones jump up on stage
Oh,
too?
first, it was so good to see you. That just made it a day because I'm always thinking, and where's Rudy? I haven't heard him or heard anything in a while. So it was good to see you. Made up my day, and to be there at that function. I think they're celebrating their 30th year.
30th year,
Yes, and that's
Ontario
good.
Black History Society. Yeah, 30
Yes,
years.
and bringing everybody together in the community, especially in times like these. We
Mhm.
got such, it's the people of the world is so troubled, as Dennis Brown said. And it was a great experience for all of us.
Did you expect Spider Jones to jump up on stage?
You know, you know what? I didn't know he was there, but if I knew he was there, I'm not surprised because it's a great question you asked. Many years ago with the Cougar at Young Street, when it was so hard to break that barrier as a local band at Le Cocteau, we finally got our chance. And we had to back up Arthur Conley. Do you like old music? Yeah, yeah. Sweet. So the Cougars finally tore the barrier down and we're backing up Arthur Conley from United States of America. He wrote that song with Otis Redding. But they booked him at the Le, but he had to come without his band because the United States government sent his band to Vietnam, and he didn't have any band. So the owner of the Le, Mr. Bullock, asked us, "Would you guys love to back up Arthur?" I said, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "But well, Cougars were in Montreal. We saw him at the Esquire show, and he's got a band, a bus." He said, "Not anymore. His band went to Vietnam." Sure would love to back him up. And he came to Toronto. We backed him up. And what do you know? The first night, Mr. Blair, who came up on stage with Arthur Conley? Spider Jones. And he took over up there and he did the split and his pants split open. He did the split. Spider Jones. That was the show at the Cock Door. Arthur
Oh my
Conley,
goodness.
Spider Jones did that. So this question is so you couldn't ask it at a better time. So if I knew in advance at the Black History Celebration, I wouldn't be surprised. But I didn't know he was there, so that just made it happen.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you shared that memory. But you share a lot of memories because recently a documentary premiered about your life. First, how did you feel about seeing your life on the big screen the way it was presented too? And I'm so glad this finally got put together because it really talks about stuff that my parents talked about when I was growing up, and I get to see it through your eyes.
Very touching because first of all, my mother came here as a domestic worker, 1954. And then I joined her in the 60s with my uncles who were police officers here in Metro. But on top of that, when I got called about this documentary about 3 years ago from the producer, Andrew Munger from Ultramagnetic Film, he, he told me who he was and that he wanted to do a documentary on my life story. And I was very touched, but I had to ask him this question. Okay, if we do this project, tell me, Mr. Munger, what's in it for the young generation, the kids? I was brave, but I had to because I believe in truth. Didn't give me the answer I was looking for. So 2 years after we were in Jamaica doing the filming, at the school where I went to as a kid, kindergarten, and my Sunday school, in the middle of the film at the school, these kids were all over us. Little kids, and they wanted money to go buy ice cream. They didn't weren't concerned about the camera. They were amazing. And so at the end of the evening, we went for supper. Mr. Munger said, "You remember when you asked me what's in it for the kids, Jay? I didn't give you a good answer, but after today, what we experienced with the kids at where you went to school as a kid, we share your sentiment." And that was what I wanted to hear because, the kids are the gem of the future and we want to give them values. And another thing, I was so moved when I saw the J Douglas up there, the big screen, because I'm so happy I told them the truth from the get-go because they researched so many, they came up with pictures I didn't even remember that the Cougar, no kidding. So I'm grateful that I told them the truth. And that's what we want to give to the young generation.
I don't want to give too much away on this because I think it's important for people to see it the way I saw it. But there are just little things I want to point out that hopefully will give them more of a, oh, I have to see this. Your relationship with Bob Marley, which I had no idea with all the interviews I've done with you, I did not know that this occurred in the beginning of both of your careers.
Yeah, yes. We auditioned at the same time at Studio One on a Sunday afternoon. And Cox and that at the time, he sat outside because it's warm, hot day, under that mango tree at Studio One, Brentford Road, and asked me why I'm here. I said, I want to do some recording. He says, sing, just like that. I started, pick up your feathers and hang up yours. And he goes, okay, come back tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. Next, the Wailers with Bob Marley. Very interesting. Oh my goodness gracious. It's not in the documentary because of legal stuff with the family. So they had to use another song in there. And trust me, my brother, I had no idea this would play a big part in my life. And on top of that, I left soon after to join my mom in Canada. And Rudy, I'm going to share something with you that many people don't know. While I was here, my uncle Stan and his wife went home for the first time to Jamaica on a vacation. So he asked me to pick him up when he returned. So I got to the airport and got him, pick him up. But he was not happy. He had a sad look on his face. So I said, Uncle, what's up? What was your vacation? I said, okay, but there's a bunch of Rasta men on the plane. They're disgusting. Can't stand them. So I said, who are they? There's one of them there. I go, you know who that is? He said, who? That's Bob Marley. What? I said, Uncle, that's Bob. You're kidding. So I went over and called Bob and introduced. So I started to tell Bob what happened at audition. And Bob said, yeah, the man was there them time there. You were there. And you know what happened? They came for a show at Marcial, 1972. And
I remember my parents were there.
so guess what? He had just signed to a new manager, Don Taylor. And Don Taylor set up his first world tour, and Marcial was his first stop, Toronto. Are you there?
Oh, I'm there.
That was his very first stop, Marcial.
When you want to talk about stops and venues in Toronto, one of the interesting things about this documentary talks about how you basically broke down barriers for a lot of venues in having reggae music performed there. Whereas in the past, you only had maybe uh certain venues would play it, not the popular all around venues that would take artists from the US and all this and that and things like that. You broke those barriers. Talk a little bit about that because that's so important because people wouldn't think about that in Toronto where a club is saying, well, no, we're gonna not gonna have this style of music. And you're the one who turned around and helped break those barriers down.
Yeah, because when I, as a student at Central Tech, one day I was out on the playfield at Bathurst and Harvard, Central Tech High School. I was doing phys ed while I'm a student there, and a car drove by. Hey, we want you to come down to the Whiff Club on Sunday. Didn't see the faces. Be there at 12. Don't forget. I go, what's this? So I went to the Whiff Club, 12 o'clock sharp, not knowing that I was going to get auditioned for the lead singing job of the Cougars. And I got the job and we started. Now, those days, the Whiff Club, West Indian Federation, was the only club in town, really, where people from the Caribbean could go and get a meal of their choice from the Caribbean. And also, the domestic workers, like my mom, when they get a day off, that's where they could go and hang out. Before that, they had nowhere to go. They had to sit in a restaurant and milk a cup of coffee for a whole day, whole afternoon, just to get out from the homes they were working in. So we were playing at the Whiff Club. Then we needed new grounds to cover. And so that's why we went to the Lecoq there, because they had a Sunday afternoon jam with the American group, a matinee. So we knew about that. So we asked them when they took a break if we could go up and play. They gave us a shot. Yes. But we knew all along, even though we played reggae, calypso, ska, rocksteady, only certain places it was accepted.
Mhm.
The downtown mainstream, they want R&B and funk. So we were forced to learn the R&B soul music. Then we could piggyback a reggae. Oh my goodness. We got that one chance at the Copter that afternoon, Saturday afternoon. And here's another thing a lot of people don't know. I'm going to share with you, my brother. While we got up there, the Cougars opened up with Cold Sweat. Bam, bam, James Brown. Bam, yeah, man. And in the middle of the song, I don't know. Nobody gave me permission. The leader of the band did. I just took the band and said, ladies and gentlemen, there's some friends sitting out there and they're very good singers. I'd like to bring them up on stage. Who told me to do that? I don't. The famous, the fabulous Flames. You know who was in that group? Glenn Ricketts, Love and Dear, Azit G, and another guy whose name is Sata. He was a dread. He died. Sati. And when I brought him up on stage, the owner of the club, the lookout, said, "Okay, you guys are great. I'll book you Cougars, but you have to include that group, those guys in the package." So the money is gone down. I almost got kicked out of the band. Who told you to do that? Well, right then there, we opened the barrier for the Flames. Glenn Ricketts, that's Glenn Lewis's father.
What?
Yes.
I no, had no idea. Thank you so much for telling this story. But you know one thing that I realized about this whole documentary, it is about your music career, but it is also representing your personal immediate family, your brother and your mother. What was that like to be able to tell those stories, and your brother being able to tell his story
Ian, yeah,
about being your brother?
yes. It was very touching. he remembers stuff about me that I sometimes don't remember. He has to remind. But my mom, Noreen, God bless her soul. Yeah, she used to say, Son, you got a voice to sing, but you have to go to America, go to the United States. Two things. She wanted me to move to the States. And she said, you should be singing for God. Sing for God. But I said, yes, I agree. And, and to have my uncles there, being police officers in this city in those early years,
Yeah.
wasn't easy. It was a challenge. There was one point in time I came home from school, told my mom I want to go back to Jamaica. I can't handle it. Couldn't handle the cold, couldn't handle the food here.
Mhm.
It was very different. And she didn't respond right away. She said, okay, I'll book your flight for Jamaica tomorrow or the next day. But listen, when you go home, please don't write and tell me that you want to come back because it's not going to happen. So I said to her, please don't book the ticket yet. That, yeah. And so to see all of that on the big screen and what we're able to do so others can benefit, that's gratification. That's very gratifying.
It is very much. What do you hope people will get from seeing this? You talked about the children,
Mm,
but what do you hope viewers who like myself have known you for years, but
mm,
maybe did not know certain points in this, and people who are rediscovering you, what do you hope they
mm.
get from seeing this?
Um, living in truth, the spirit of truth is in the midst of everything we do. As the Rastafarians they said, Jaron thinks, you know, yes. And spiritually, we're all connected. And I do hope that they'll see determination, desire, discipline. It goes a long way. We need to put ego aside because you see what's destroying our planet right now. That human ego. It's not very good. And we need to, we have to know that the ego seeks to get and the soul seeks to give. That ego, no good. And we're still alive. And this journey's for all of us, brother. We're all messengers of peace and love. Let there be peace and let it begins with me first.
Truly is, truly is. Before we wrap this up, as we speak, you have a show that's coming up
Yeah,
celebrating the guy who you auditioned with.
yes, Bob.
Yes, what's going on with this?
February 6th at Harborfront. We're doing a massive show, a big show. Liberty Silver, Eddie Bullen, Jay Douglas, Wire, playing percussions, and a big band. And it's being produced by Diana Webley. And really looking forward. And also, there's a big showing of the documentary at, at the Jamaican Canadian Association,
Good to know.
February 21st. Big
Good
show.
to know. Good to
Yeah,
know.
yeah. And February 16th, the documentary will be shown on TVO
Oh,
at 9 p.m.
fantastic. We'll make
And, we,
sure.
and we're doing a show on the 15th of February at the Drake.
Fantastic. My friend, my mentor, um, I say thank you so much once again for this interview, but I will always say thank you for what you've done for Canadian music. And I say that with respect, Canadian music, because you have changed it the way you have. And it's so much better because of you. Thank you again.
And thank you. It's always a pleasure. And I was always a fan of yours up until today for many years because you bring the best out of me every time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.